What things then can you tell people or give people that can help on a day-to-day basis? Just they can start now, some small tips and tricks so they can start every day trying these things
help
and
them
hopefully
find their journey.
Help them find themselves, their journey, and ground themselves.
So I would say the first thing, and this comes back to how I see energy. So energy is in 4 dimensions.
Yeah.
You have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. But the first place it starts is physical energy.
Yeah.
You know, if there's anything COVID taught us, was that without your health, you can't do much.
Yeah.
Or as I say in my book, to the healthy, they have lots of hopes, dreams, and goals, but to the sick, they have only one. So you can't do much else unless you have a good baseline of physical energy. So I would say for anybody, look at your physical energy now. And what I mean by this is, are you getting sufficient sleep? Are you moving your body every day on a regular basis? It doesn't have to be an hour in the gym. It can just be walking outside, go for a swim, go for a cycle, but just something that gets your body moving. Now, you may not always be motivated to do so, but I guarantee you, you will never regret it after. And then the third thing is nutrition. What are you feeding your body? Now, if you're feeding your body junk, you're not moving your body, and you're not getting sufficient rest, whatever I share, you're never going to put into action. Or if you do, it's not going to be effective. Because you're not going to put it in with any gusto. So that would be where I would start.
Sleep, a little bit of exercise,
movement, and nutrition.
Food.
Once you've got that, you have a baseline of energy. And then for me, one of the greatest habits, it's a simple one, but one we talk about a lot, but few of us do, which is plan your day the night before. Now, when you plan your day the night before,
I wrote down here, plan your day the night before.
I love it. So when you plan your day the night before, what happens is you wake up. The morning hours is when we have our highest level of energy. You know exactly what to focus on. Whereas most of us, because we don't plan our day the night before, we wake up and we're wasting our first couple of hours thinking, what do I do today? What's my priorities? And we're sort of just putting out fires. We're just putting out fires the whole morning. And then by the time it gets to lunchtime or after, we're like, man, it's been a long day already. You know? So that is the unfortunate reality.
That is most of reality right now, actually. That is a lot of the generation that is happening.
It's the unfortunate reality. You know, we know that in order to do
it, even like sometimes I usually work from home, or we go somewhere, or our hours are not regular hours. But sometimes the other day I had to go to the Excel and I had to do normal hours. I got up, we got on the Elizabeth line to go. I was watching people, they were like zombies. You could it was just lost. Some just literally headphones in, looking at the phone, quite clearly tired, just whatever it may be. And you kind of want to knock on some people like, are you
just shaking?
Are you okay? Are you like,
but personally,
are you switched on?
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors.
Yes, FINT. You can launch your brighter future today. So head over to their website and register your interest.
I understand exactly what you are saying, because I have gone through times where I haven't planned my day out. And you're right, it gets to 11 o'clock. I woke up at 8 a.m. It gets to 11 o'clock. I feel like I've done loads, but in reality, I've only done one thing. And I've not even done it properly.
And this is exactly the feeling of most of society. They're busy, but not going anywhere.
They're busy, but not actually productive in the correct way.
Even for us, like, kind of listen to yourself. And myself and Kurt, we're brothers. We've been brought up exactly the same, but we are polar opposite. So for me, when I hear people don't plan their day before, or don't write a list the night before, and don't do it, to me it's so alien, because it's just, that's the way I'm wired and always have been. So on one side, great for me. On the other side, I find it hard to sometimes be with you, Curtis, and be like, okay, what do you mean you haven't wrote a list? Or what do you mean you haven't done it? Like, it's my brain, I couldn't function. If I woke up this morning and didn't have a list of things to do, or if I hadn't, like, my diary is like I kind of time box everything the whole day.
I tend to
if it's not, I'm like, I start twitching.
I have a mental list. But the problem is with the mental list is sometimes if you wake up a little bit more tired, a little bit fog in your brain, like for example, me this morning, things don't go to plan straight away. I called you the wrong blooming name.
And this is why there's a great question asked to Richard Branson. So I was on this event where Branson was doing a Q&A. And this young guy asked Branson, what's the one advice you would give to entrepreneurs just starting out based on your experience? And it was an interesting answer. He said, make sure you carry a notepad and pen wherever you go. Because he said, you'd have no idea ahead of time which conversation, which chance meeting, which person you listen to, or which magazine you read if you're waiting for a train or your aeroplane, that would suddenly give you an insight. And if you have nowhere to capture it, it'll be very quickly lost. And he even picked out his small black notebook from his jacket pocket. And he said, even I still have one today.
Yeah.
Because he said, if you can capture all of those thoughts and insights and ideas, what happens is you can revisit them.
Yeah.
And that becomes your baseline for your strategy. But if you're relying on your brain, yes, I mean, on a good day it'll function really well. But on most days, you'll just end up forgetting things.
Yeah, like, and there's only so much your brain can take in. Like that beautiful, you're pouring that cup of tea into the cup, like there's only so much it can take.
And there's something special about what you were saying there with the notepad is writing it down. I always feel if you're doing a muscle memory of something, it sinks into your body. You absorb it. Where if you text it down or something, it's a different story.
It's different because if you're doing it digital, there's chances for distraction.
Yes.
You know, if you're doing it on your laptop, you've got tabs open, or you're doing a phone, then notification pops up, you get distracted. But if you write pen to paper, it's raw, but also it forces you to slow down.
Yeah.
It forces you to slow down and think about what you're writing. And when you write what's on your mind, your brain is straight away thinking about what you've written down.
Do you think that's a big key thing in this day and age, actually, for people to slow down?
Absolutely. Slowing down.
And I don't mean slow down as in don't be as productive in this and that.
Sure.
I mean more as in we're so over observing, with so much information coming in on us, like actually just settle down, have a little bit of meditation or something, or just try and focus on the one thing.
Yeah, slowing down in today's world that is only getting faster is a superpower.
Yeah,
you have to look back at some great anecdotes. I don't know if these are true, but I think there's a lot of wisdom in them. Isaac Newton, apple fell on his head, gravity. Thomas Edison, fishing with no baits and no one, not even the fish, would disturb him.
I love this story that you said. Yeah, can you say this?
Yeah, so Thomas Edison would spend an hour out of each day to disconnect from work, go to the lake, and just fish. And he never caught a single fish in the time he did this activity. And the reason is because he never used bait. So no one, not even the fish, would disturb him. And he would credit that hour each day as one of the moments that contributed to all of his ideas when he came back to the office and he had this new invention he wanted to try out. Because it's in those moments where we get our creative breakthroughs. I mean, just think for us going on holiday, when you are up in the air and you're on a long flight somewhere and you have no internet connection, no mobile phone reception, you're in that peace. You're in that stillness. And often that's where we have all these ideas of, when I get back home, I'm going to do this. When I return to work, I'm going to change this about my life. But then we go back into the routine. How much of that do we actually follow through with?
I think all these distractions. Again, the shower is a place for me, to be fair. That's when I sometimes think.
Clarity of that, like it's different for each person. But I feel like somebody within each, say you've got your day today, like at what moment in that day are you going to set aside for that? Like whether it's like me, I loved, it sounds really sad. I've always had egg on toast for lunch.
Yeah.
And
when I can vouch for this, since he's like 1 year old.
Forever. And it makes me so happy to sit down, have my egg on toast, and I usually sit in silence. And it's my thought process.
Yeah.
And I have some of my best thoughts when I'm on my egg on toast.
Yeah.
Because all I'm focused on is just eating, no TV on, sat in here, quiet. It makes me so happy.
It's bringing you into the present moment. And the fact is, too many of us are not living in the present moment.
Oh, yeah.
We're dwelling on the past. We're living in a future that may or may not happen. And we end up falling into this trap of living as if we're never going to die and then dying having never really lived. And there was this...
That's wow. That's powerful.
It's a tragedy many of us.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
So many of us live as if we're never going to die and then die having never really lived.
Yeah.
Because we're not living in this present moment. And I find that when you become mindful, when you ground yourself in the now, what happens is you begin to realize just how many miracles are around us. But because we move so fast and we take things for granted, the extraordinary suddenly seems ordinary.
I've started doing something recently. I've started since the start of February, actually writing down everything I'm spending on my accounts and stuff. And without realizing it, it's actually brought me into the present moment.
Yeah.
Because it's made me realize what I'm actually doing throughout that day, as in what I'm actually spending or what I'm going to do and stuff. And it's really brought me into the now almost, because I'm writing it down and just thinking, but it's here. I've done this today. It's now. And it's changed me. I'm not even going to lie.
It does, because
really has.
A couple of reasons. The first thing is by writing down everything you spend,
you
suddenly got a jolt of awareness.
Yeah.
You now know, because a lot of people, they'll just spend and they'll look at a bank account at the end of the month and they're like, where did all the money go? They don't know where it went. But as soon as you start writing these things down, what am I spending on? You get to see, wow, that is where all the money's going. And then you can evaluate, which is the next step. is this something I still want to continue with?
Yeah.
And then you can start to eliminate, or you can start to maybe adjust it. Maybe you're going for the premium plan, go for the economy plan, whatever that is that you subscribe to. So it's a great way to be aware of accountability of where your money's actually going, and then to make changes. But I think before that, for us to make the change, what has worked for me, which I help other people to do, is to connect your present self to your future self.
Yeah. So how do we do this?
So a lot of us, the reason we don't change is because we are basing our current thinking about who we are, our identity, on our past behaviors.
Yeah.
So I've always done this, so I'm this person, or this is how I grew up. And so we're using our past as an excuse for our present day decisions. But if we can flip it and work backwards from our future self, it changes the game. So let's say you're thinking about changing your life, but you don't know what to do, but you know something has to change.
Yes.
The best way to start is to project yourself, let's say 30 years ahead, and say, if everything was perfect in my life, in my personal, professional life, what would that look like? And then you really visualize it, get as clear as you can. They might not be full yet, but you have some idea. We all have some idea.
Yeah.
And then you want to ask yourself questions such as, where am I? Who am I spending time with? What am I known for? What have I accomplished? And see it as if you have already done those things that you want to do. And then from there, you want to project back that future self to the present person and ask yourself, how can I act like that person today? Because the being of that person has to happen first before the other stuff starts to come into your life. So, for example, if you act like you are today based on past decisions, nothing's going to change. But if you act as your future self, then things become inevitable. So if your future self is somebody who is living with intention, who hangs around people that gives him or her energy, and all of this stuff is what this future self is doing. You can do it today. There's nothing stopping you doing it now. And so you're living off from that future self. So what happens is that gap starts to narrow once you have an idea of what that future self looks like.
I think for me anyway, or maybe sports people, like it's kind of, there's a clear goal always. Like we're running a half marathon, like in April, like that, the goal that I visualize is I'm going to get this time, I'm going to be running at this pace. I know the kind of course it's roughly going to be, but I work back from being like, every time I run, I visualize that. I work process. I know that if I'm not going for the run clubs on Tuesday and Thursday, I'm not getting the miles in, I'm not going to be able to achieve that goal. And it's kind of that with sports people, there's always a clear goal. And I think when people kind of look at life, they don't put a clear goal. So therefore, what are you shooting for? And I think what's really nice about what you said there is you've got a clarity or a rough idea of where you want to be and shooting for that goal. And I think that's so important because people, maybe it's in the UK more so than some other countries. It's like everybody wins or everybody's happy. Or everybody's like, but no, you're competing against yourself, or you're competing against I look at it as a big game. I want to win my game in the way that I'm doing.
That's actually a great point in what you were saying. Like competitors or sports, they want to be the best in the world. So therefore they know exactly what they're training for. So they are looking in the future.
But the interesting thing is goals isn't the most important. Goals is important to an extent. But what's more important than the goal is a vision. I'll give an example. Let's say you're in sports and your goal is to win X number of gold medals. If you're an Olympian or to be known for a certain sport. What happens when you are? You've got the gold medals. You've completed the race. What happens next? So if you look at some of the interviews Michael Phelps has done, when he retired from being an Olympian, one of the first thoughts that came into his head was the fact he wanted to kill himself because he lost his identity. He's not an Olympian anymore. He's a former Olympian. What is his purpose? He doesn't have to train anymore. He used to have to wake up every morning early, have a certain diet, go swimming, spend lots of time in the pool. Now he's retired. What is he going to do with his life?
That daily schedule.
It's
every minute.
It's gone.
They've lost that.
And so goals is important, but to an extent. What's more important is a vision. What is the vision you have for your life? What is the impact you want to have in the world? And this is why, if I had to distill it into a process of thinking, it would be visualize in years, plan in months, execute daily. So the vision helps to inform the plan, and the plan is where the goals come in. So this is where you can measure your progress. So if you plan in months, it might be by the end of next month, I want to have done ABC. And then you look at the present moment and what am I going to execute now that will make the plan happen? And when the plan happens, it contributes to the vision. But if you're only focused on the goal, and this is why I hear lots of friends saying, I'm going to run the marathon, and they train hard and they change their diet for the marathon.
But then what do they do after?
And then after the marathon, they're back to what they did before they did more training. And so what I say to them is, don't focus on the goal of running the marathon. Focus on the person you must become so that running marathons becomes easy.
Yeah.
Now, when you focus on the person you need to become, what happens is your attention goes more to systems and habits. Now, if you have the right systems and habits in place, you don't just run one marathon, but you're setting your mind and your body to win again and again and again, multiple times. And that's why in sport, it's so easy to win that first title.
Powerful hack,
that first championship. But how hard is it to retain that title year after year after year after year consistently?
When we were kind of dancing, it was always...
That's a hack to life.
Don't ever get complacent. Number 2, number 3 behind you. They're always there, and it's that process for us. Healthy processes, putting it into place. Like people see it as a bit of a chore, but when you do it all the time, like it's part of your life. It becomes and
it doesn't have to be a chore. I mean, you mentioned the word earlier about seeing things as a game. For me, if you approach something with a gamification mindset, the game is the reward. Being in the game, playing the game is the reward. And so if you see something as a chore, the power of a good question can transform that relationship. So for me, one of my chores when I started my business was having to go to networking events, building my relationships, putting myself out there.
Listening to you go about your book I found very good. Putting yourself in the experiences of going to these talks and obviously sending emails to all the companies and letters and putting yourself in the position, putting yourself out there to allow it to come back. And more and more we do these podcasts and talk to people, like business ventures pop up, things that would have never happened if we were never in these rooms. Just before you go anywhere, we just want to say thank you very much to listen to Freedom Impact Trust. We love your reviews, so please do leave them because it helps other people find us, doesn't it, Curtis?
Yes, it does. As AJ said, comment, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with the entire world. Let everybody know that this is the podcast that you guys are listening to. And jot down some comments of any financial advice that you want or any questions. We'll be happy to answer all of them at the best of our knowledge. Thanks again for listening, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it and we love you all.
Yeah, we just want to thank our sponsors, FINT, the financial investment app where you can invest from as little as £50 a month. Yes, Curtis, £50 a month. So easy.
I like it. And don't forget that it's all within 3 portfolios. Simplicity. It's easy. Get investing, guys.
Have a great day.
See you later.